Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different.
Yeah, we are.
We're stepping away from the usual, the self-help books, the business manuals, the biographies of tech moguls.
Hmm.
We're walking right into the smoky back rooms of the criminal underworld. We're talking about confidence games, mob justice, and what happens when the legal system just completely collapses.
It's a fascinating pivot for us.
Yeah.
Usually we're talking about how to build a business or how to optimize your health, your productivity.
Right.
Today we're looking at how to dismantle a criminal empire using, no, using nothing but psychology, physics, and a whole lot of nerve.
Exactly. And the book we are unpacking today is King Khan by Stephen J. Cannell. Now, for anyone who grew up watching TV in say, the 80s or 90s, that name Cannell is legendary.
Oh, absolutely.
He was the brain behind the A-Team, the Rockford Files, 21 Jump Street. The man knew how to weave a narrative.
He really, really did. And this novel, it feels like a masterclass in plotting. It's so fast, it's clever, but it also has this really deep understanding of the criminal mind. It isn't just cops and robbers.
No, not at all. It's about the art of the grift.
The art of the grift, I like that.
I want to start right at the top with the hook. There's a quote that appears right at the beginning of the source material, and I think it frames everything we are going to talk about today. It's from Plato. He said, "To deceive is to enchant."
To deceive is to enchant. It's a little unsettling when you really stop and think about it, isn't it?
It is. It makes you question every interaction you have. Is this person enchanting me right now?
But it captures the absolute essence of the confidence game. See, a true con isn't just about theft. If I stick a gun in your face and take your wallet, that's robbery.
Right. There's no enchantment there.
None. Just fear. But a con is about storytelling. It's about weaving a narrative so compelling, so seductive, that the victim, the mark, actually wants to believe it.
So, in a way, the mark becomes a willing participant in their own downfall.
That's it, exactly.
Because they're enjoying the story being told to them so much.
Precisely. They are enchanted. And in King Khan, we see this incredible clash between two very different worlds that operate on, completely different principles.
Okay, what are they?
On one side, you have the rigid, black and white world of the law, where facts are facts and rules are rules.
Very structured.
And then you have the fluid, morally gray, enchanting world of the grifter, where reality is, well, it's whatever you can convince someone it is.
And the stakes in the story could not be higher. We aren't just talking about stealing a few wallets or cheating at a friendly poker game.
No, this is the big leagues.
We are talking about a high-profile mob prosecution that goes horribly, horribly wrong. It leads to this incredibly unlikely alliance. You have a straight-laced, by-the-book prosecutor teaming up with a legendary con man.
The best in the business.
To take down a mafia family that the law just couldn't touch.
It is the ultimate odd couple. And our mission for this deep dive is to look at the how. We want to unpack the specific mechanics of the cons described in the book.
I love this part.
Yeah, we're going to get into the physics of card cheating, the economics of these complex jewelry scams, the chemistry of loaded dice, which is just wild. And we also want to explore the emotional engine driving all of this, which is pure, unfiltered revenge.
Okay, so let's introduce our cast of characters because they are larger than life. First up, we have the title character, the King Khan himself, Beano Bates.
Beto is such a fascinating protagonist. He isn't portrayed as a thug or some kind of gangster. He sees himself as an artist.
An artist of deception.
Exactly. And he comes from this massive, almost mythical family of grifters, the Bates clan. The source material mentions there are something like 3,000 members of the Bates family running cons all across the country.
3,000? That's not a family, that's a corporation.
It's like a secret society, a whole lineage of professional liars.
That's incredible.
But Beano is the best of them. He's the Mozart of the family. He's on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, but not for violence. He has never hurt anyone physically.
So what's he wanted for?
He's wanted purely for fraud, for his ability to manipulate reality on a grand scale.
And his backstory is just, it's something else. It sort of breaks your heart a little bit while also making you laugh. It really explains his psychology. His first con was as a child, right?
That's right. He was 6 years old, can you imagine?
6? What was he doing?
He was part of his father's roofing scams. He would knock on a door, this cute little kid with these big sad eyes, and he'd tell the homeowner that his little sister needed money for chemotherapy.
Oh, that's devastating. Who says no to that?
Nobody. That is the point. But here is the kicker. He didn't have a sister with cancer.
He didn't even have a sister.
No sister, no chemo.
Huh.
But it worked. It opened the door. It disarmed the homeowner completely.
It's unbelievably manipulative, of course, but there's a real insight there that Bino carries with him his whole life.
Right. Bino realized even back then that he wasn't just taking their money. He was giving them something.
Giving them something. What could he possibly be giving them?
He was giving them the feeling of being a hero. They felt good about helping a sick child. He understands that people want to be helpful, or they want to get a deal, or they want to be part of a secret, and he leverages that fundamental human nature.
Okay, so that's Bino. He's our chaotic neutral element. Then we have his foil, Victoria Hart.
Right. And in the press, within the books world, she is known as Tricky Vicky. But that's a total misnomer.
Why is that?
She isn't tricky at all. She's actually incredibly rigid. She is a type A prosecutor who believes in the system with an almost religious fervor. She believes that if you follow the rules, if you check all the boxes, if you file the proper motions,
Justice will prevail.
yes, she's the person who reminds the teacher to collect the homework.
I know that person.
We all do. She is the perfect counterpoint to Bino because she represents the world as it should be, fair, orderly, logical, whereas Bino operates in the world as it is.
Messy, emotional, and completely exploitable.
You got it.
And then we have the villains, and I have to say, these guys are terrifying. The Rena brothers, they aren't your cartoonish, mustache-twirling bad guys. They feel very real and very, very dangerous.
The Rena brothers are the embodiment of untouchable evil in this book. First, you have the boss, Joe Dancerina.
Dancer.
Yeah, he's handsome, wears these impeccably tailored Armani suits. He walks on the balls of his feet to look taller, hence the nickname Dancer.
Ah, okay.
He's the brains. He's calm, calculating, and completely sociopathic. To him, crime is just business. It's numbers on a spreadsheet.
And then there's the brother, Tommy, 2 times Rena, and his nickname. Well, let's just say it is not, because he orders everything double at the bar.
No, it is much, much darker than that. Tommy is the violent, unstable enforcer. He got the nickname 2 times because of a very specific incident. He killed a man named Sean Morrissey twice.
Twice? How do you kill someone twice? Explain that to me.
It's just gruesome. The first time, Tommy beat Morrissey with a hammer, left him for dead. But Morrissey was tough. He actually woke up on the autopsy table. He survived the attack.
That is a horror movie right there, waking up in the morgue.
It absolutely is.
Huh.
So Morrissey survives, but the Renas don't leave loose ends. Months later, Tommy found him again and finished the job. He killed him a second time.
Wow.
So that gives you a sense of the relentless brutality we're dealing with here. If they want you dead, you stay dead.
Okay, so we have our artist, our straight arrow prosecutor, and our absolute monsters. Let's get into the story. Act 1. The inciting incident. It all starts with a poker game.
And not just any poker game. This is a high-stakes, invitation-only game at the Greenboro Country Club. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars changing hands on every single turn of a card.
And this is where our characters collide.
Right. Bino Bates has weaseled his way into the game under an alias, Frank LeMay, and he's sitting right across the table from the man himself, Joe Rena.
Now, Bino is a world-class card player, but he isn't relying on luck, and he isn't relying on skill alone. He's cheating.
He is absolutely cheating. And this is where we get our first really deep dive into the mechanics. Cannell describes these fascinating devices called shiners.
I love this detail because it feels so analog, but so incredibly effective. Let's unpack the shiners. What exactly are they?
A shiner is essentially a mirror, but a very subtle, concealable one. Bino is using 2 different types to ensure he has total coverage of the game. The first is a money clip shiner.
Okay, a money clip. How does that work?
So he places his money clip on the salt table in front of him. To anyone else, the pit boss, the other players, it just looks like a dull piece of silver or steel holding his cash.
Just a normal accessory.
Exactly. But the angle is calculated perfectly. As Bino deals the cards, he passes them over the clip. For a split second, the face of the card reflects in the polished surface of the clip.
So he can see every single card coming off the deck before he even deals it to a player.
He knows what you have before you do. But that only works when he's the one dealing.
Right.
He have a backup for when others are dealing. The palm shiner.
This one sounds like something out of a spy movie.
It is. It's basically a tiny periscope hidden in the palm of his hand. He can cup his hand on the table, look down through his fingers, and the internal mirrors of the device let him read the deck even when someone else is manipulating the cards.
So between the clip and the palm shiner, Bino effectively has X-ray vision at the table.
Total information control.
And naturally, he is cleaning up. He's $86,000 ahead. He is taking the mob boss to the cleaners. But Joe Rinna. Joe isn't your average mark. He didn't get to be the boss by being oblivious.
Not at all. Joe Rinna is sharp. He suspects something is wrong. The math isn't adding up. The luck seems unnatural. And this leads to one of the most tense scenes in the opening of the book. They take a break from the game and end up in the bathroom together.
This scene gave me chills. It is so understated, but so threatening.
It is meant to be. They're just washing their hands. It's quiet. And Joe Rinna starts telling Bino, this Frank LeMay guy, a story about a cheater named Soapy Smith.
Soapy Smith, was he a real person?
Oh yeah, a legendary grifter from the Old West. He used to mark cards with soap flakes. It was subtle, tactile. But Joe tells the story of what happened when Soapy got caught.
And what happened?
Joe says the other players didn't just beat him, they dismembered him while he was still alive. And he tells this story calmly, looking at himself in the mirror, drying his hands.
It's a direct threat. He is saying, I know what you're doing, and I know how this ends for people like you.
Exactly. It's psychological warfare. He's giving Bino a chance to confess or, to run.
But Bino is the King Khan. He's arrogant. He's at the top of his game. He thinks he can just cash out and leave. He thinks his tech is undetectable.
Which is his fatal mistake. His
Yeah.
hubris. He walks out to the parking lot, thinking he has gotten away with it. He's probably counting the money in his head, planning his next move. And that is when the hammer drops.
Or rather, the 9-iron.
Right. The beating scene is just brutal. Joe Rinna ambushes him in the lot. He uses a 9-iron golf club. He doesn't just hit him, he destroys him. He smashes Bino's jaw, breaks his ribs, shatters his clavicle.
It's not just a physical assault, though. The book presents it as something more, something deeper.
It is. It's an execution of Bino's identity.
What do you mean by that? How does a beating execute an identity?
Well, Cannell writes extensively about this concept of nerve. For a con man, your nerve, your confidence, your coolness under pressure is your currency. It's your only tool. It is the only thing standing between you and prison. Without it, you are nothing.
And the beating destroys it.
Completely. He's left broken physically, but psychologically he's terrified. He realizes he isn't invincible. He escapes the hospital because he knows Rinna will come back to finish the job, and he goes into hiding. He is a shell of himself.
So Bino is in the win. Enter Victoria Hart. She's the prosecutor who catches the case. She's trying to nail Joe Rinna for this attempted murder, but she has a massive problem.
A huge problem.
Her victim, this Frank LeMay, has vanished.
Exactly. In the legal system, without a victim to testify, you essentially have no case. You can't prosecute an attempted murder without the person who was almost murdered.
Unless she has another witness.
And this is where the heart of the tragedy lies. Victoria, through some good police work, finds a witness. A pediatric nurse named Carol Sesnick.
And Carol isn't just a random bystander who happened to be in the parking lot, though. Her connection is much deeper.
No, it's the key to everything. We find out that Carol is actually Bino's cousin. They grew up together. She's his soulmate in a platonic sense.
The book talks about their childhood.
Yeah, there's this touching story about how, as kids, Bino promised to protect her from bears. There's this childhood metaphor for all the scary things in the world. She is the one person in the world Bino truly loves and trusts.
So Carol steps forward to testify against Joe Rinna. Does she know that Frank LeMay is actually her cousin Bino?
She knows. She sees that Bino's in trouble. She sees he has been nearly killed, and she steps into the line of fire to save him. She agrees to testify that she saw Joe Rinna do it.
Which puts a giant target on her back.
A massive one. Victoria Hart puts her in a safe house. Trenton Towers, guarded by 2 police officers, Tony Carollo and Bobby Manning.
And this brings us to Act 2, the failure of the law. Because safe house turns out to be a complete misnomer.
It's a disaster. It's a death trap. And this is where we see the ruthlessness and the sheer creativity of the Rinna brothers. They don't attack the safe house with a frontal assault. They don't kick down the door with machine guns.
So how do they get in?
Tommy, 2 times.
Yeah.
Rinna uses the architecture of the building against them. He uses a dumbwaiter shaft.
A dumbwaiter, like those little elevators for food in old hotels.
Yes, it's an old building. Tommy squeezes himself into this tiny service elevator shaft. He climbs up the inside of the building, completely bypassing the guards at the door, and gets onto the floor from the inside.
It's a stealth nightmare.
It is. He kills the 2 police officers, and he kills Carol.
It's just heartbreaking. But the way they dispose of the bodies, this is referred to as the Jersey solution. It's so cold.
It is horrific, but from a criminal perspective, highly efficient. They throw the bodies down the main elevator shaft into the sludge and grease pit at the very bottom.
Why there?
It hides the crime perfectly. No bodies in the room, no crime scene, no blood, just missing people.
So Victoria Hart wakes up to find her star witness and her police protection detail are just gone, vanished into thin air.
Right.
And what happens in court is even more frustrating. It is the thing that makes you want to throw the book across the room.
This is the legal twist that sinks the whole thing.
Yeah.
Judge Goldstone rules on the concept of jeopardy attaching.
Okay, let's unpack that legal jargon for a second. Most people have heard of double jeopardy, but what does attaching mean?
So in American law, double jeopardy means you can't be tried for the same crime twice. That's a constitutional protection.
Yeah.
But the question is, when does a trial officially start? When does that protection kick in?
When the first witness is called.
Close. The rule is that jeopardy attaches when the jury is fully selected and sworn in.
So until the jury sits down and takes the oath, the trial hasn't really begun in the eyes of the law.
Correct. So Rin is defense attorney. Knowing the witness is dead and Victoria can't prove it yet, he stalls. He drags things out just long enough to get the jury seated and sworn in.
He's running out the clock.
He is. And once that last juror sits down, jeopardy attaches. The trial has begun.
And that is the exact moment Victoria realizes she has no witness. She can't proceed.
Right. She has to stand up in open court and admit she cannot proceed. She has to drop the charges. But because the jury was seated, the system considers Joe Rinna to have been tried.
And acquitted.
He walks free, and he can never be prosecuted for that specific crime, the murder of Carol and the two cops, ever again. Even if they find the bodies 10 minutes later, he is immune.
That is just infuriating. It's the ultimate failure of the system. The rules were followed to the letter, but justice was completely denied.
And it breaks Victoria. It completely shatters her faith in everything she's ever worked for. She has a meltdown on live TV. She vows revenge. She screams at the cameras. It's a professional disaster.
It ends her career.
Effectively, yes. She gets demoted to a booking clerk in the basement of the police station. She's disgraced, grieving, and just filled with this white-hot rage.
So you have a broken con man and a disgraced prosecutor. Both of them have lost the person they loved most, Carol. And that shared grief is the catalyst for Act 3, the alliance.
It starts with Bino. He knows he can't take down the Rinas with a gun. He's not a killer, and his nerve is gone anyway. He needs to do what he does best. He needs to run a con.
The big one.
The biggest. But he needs inside info. He needs Victoria's files on the Rinna family business, their finances, their weaknesses.
So he contacts her, but of course he doesn't just walk up and say, "Hi, I'm Bino, let's team up."
No, that's not his style.
Yeah.
He runs a mini-con on her just to get the files.
Yeah.
He sets up a meeting at a deli, posing as a lawyer named Martin Cushbury.
And Victoria buys it.
At first. But he knows Victoria is sharp. She won't just hand over confidential files to a stranger. So he uses a classic distraction technique, the orange juice spill.
It sounds so simple, almost slapstick. But psychologically, how does it work?
It relies on breaking the ODA, loop observe, orient, decide, act. It's a pattern interrupt. Bino purposefully knocks a giant glass of orange juice right onto her lap.
Oh, man.
It's a shock. In that moment of chaos, she's wet, she's sticky, she's angry, she's rushing to the bathroom to clean up. Her brain is completely overloaded. Her guard is down.
She's not thinking about her briefcase.
She's only thinking about the immediate physical crisis. She leaves the briefcase at the table. By the time she comes back, Martin Cushbury and her case files are long gone.
He hacked her brain with orange juice.
Essentially, yes. A low-tech, high-impact social engineering trick.
But Victoria isn't one to give up. She's a prosecutor, an investigator. She uses her skills to track him down. And we have to talk about the dog.
Roger the Dodger. He is Bino's terrier and arguably the third partner in this little firm.
He's a key player. Victoria finds Bino in a park, and this dog, Roger, just runs up, grabs her purse, and sprints into the men's room.
It's a bit of comic relief in a very dark story, but it shows Bino's level of control, his attention to detail. He has trained the dog to steal. It's absurd.
So he gets the purse.
Bino eventually returns the wallet, minus the cash, of course, but this is the confrontation moment. They are in the men's room of a public park shouting at each other. Victoria finally realizes this is the guy. This is Frank LeMay. This is Bino Bates.
And this is the turning point. Victoria looks at this man, this criminal, and realizes the law has failed her. He is the only weapon she has left.
She understands that if she wants justice for Carol, real justice, she has to go outside the law.
So she makes a demand. She doesn't just want to be an informant. She wants in. She wants to be part of the crew.
Which Bino hates. He thinks she's too rigid to buy the book. He tells her, you have target fixation. In a con, you have to hold on by letting go.
Hold on by letting go. That's a recurring theme in the book. What does it really mean in this context?
It means you can't be desperate. If you chase the mark too hard, they get spooked and they run. It's like dating or sales desperation smells bad. You have to pull back to draw them in. You have to be willing to lose a little to win a lot.
Which is the exact opposite of how a prosecutor works.
The complete antithesis.
Right.
A prosecutor aggressively pursues the truth and hammers the facts until the other side breaks. Victoria has to unlearn her entire professional life to succeed here.
So they form this uneasy alliance. They need to take down the Renas. But to run a big store, Con, which we will get to, they need money, serious seed money. You can't run $1 million scam with pocket change.
Right. Bino has about 50 grand in cash stashed in a pickle jar buried in his backyard.
Of course he does.
But they need 150,000 minimum to set up the fake business infrastructure.
Mm.
So Act 4 is the first con, the Pearl scam.
I love this scam. It is so elegant. It effectively gets the Renas to fund their own destruction. It's a masterclass in supply and demand. Let's walk through it step by step for the listeners.
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1, the setup. The Renas own a chain of jewelry stores called Rings and Things. It's basically a money laundering front, but it does real business.
So it's a legitimate target.
A perfect one. Bino and Victoria go to the Atlantic City branch. Bino adopts a new persona, Justice R. McQueed, a loud, obnoxious, ridiculously rich Texan.
And Victoria's role.
She has to play the bimbo girlfriend. This is her first real test. She has to wear the spandex dress, chew gum obnoxiously, giggle at everything Daddy says. It is deeply humiliating for her. She's a serious lawyer, but it's the perfect cover.
Because no one takes her seriously.
No one even looks at her twice, except to dismiss her. Meanwhile, she's the one analyzing the security system, counting cameras, clocking the staff.
So they go in. Step 2.
The purchase. Bino, as the Texan, insists on buying the biggest, flashiest black pearl in the store. He pays $50,000 for it, cash. Now, the pearl's probably only worth 40 grand, maybe less.
So the store manager thinks he just made a great sale.
The manager, a guy named Donald Stein, thinks he has just ripped off a dumb Texan. He's happy. He's hit his quota for the month. He's a hero.
Okay, so they are out 50 grand. They have a pearl. How does this make money? This is the part that's so clever.
This is the magic. Step 3, the return. The next morning, Bino goes back to the store alone. He's distraught. He tells the manager, "My girlfriend, she loves the pearl, but now she wants earrings."
There it is, the catch.
Exactly. He needs a matching pearl. Now, you have to understand, pearls are organic gems. They aren't cut like diamonds. Finding an exact size, shape, and luster match for a large, rare black pearl is incredibly difficult. It's almost impossible on short notice.
But Bino acts desperate.
Completely. He says, if you can find a match, I don't care what it costs. I will pay $160,000 for the match.
160. So now the manager's seeing massive dollar signs. He sold the first one for 50. If he finds a second one, he sells it for 160. That is a huge profit. He's seeing a massive commission.
He's drooling. Correct. Step 4, the trap. The manager, consumed by greed, puts out a desperate call on the jewelry exchange wire. Looking for 22mm black pearl. Urgent. Top dollar paid.
And lo and behold, someone just happens to have one.
Step 5, the sale. An associate of Bino's, his uncle, paper collar John, poses as a jeweler in New York. He answers the ad. He says, "I have that exact pearl."
But it's not another pearl. It is the same pearl Bino just bought yesterday.
Exactly. They just handed it off to John outside the state. John goes into the store and sells the pearl back to the desperate store manager for $150,000. The manager pays it, thinking he's about to flip it to the Texan for $160 and make a quick 10 grand profit on top of the original sale.
So the manager hands over $150K of the Renas' money to Bino's uncle for the pearl they already owned in the first place.
Right. And then, the final move. Step 6, the ghosting. The loud Texan never comes back. The phone number he gave is disconnected. The manager is left holding the same pearl he started with, but the store is out the 100 grand difference. Bino and Victoria walk away with Arena's own money to fund the bigger operation.
It is supply and demand weaponized. They created a false demand to drive up the price of their own supply.
Precisely. And notice the beauty of it. They didn't rob the store with guns. The manager gave them the money voluntarily because of his own greed. That is the hallmark of a true confidence game. You don't take the money, the mark gives it to you.
So now they have the cash, they have the bankroll. Now it is time for Act V, the big store. This is the main event.
The objective here is so much grander. They don't just want money. They want to turn the brothers against each other. The ultimate goal is to make Tommy testify against Joe regarding the murders.
And to do that, they have to hit the arenas where it really hurts.
Their hidden casino interests in the Bahamas, the Saber Bay Club, because it's off the books. The arenas are skimming millions from this casino. It's pure, untraceable cash. If that cash flow suddenly dries up, it will create panic and paranoia between the brothers.
So Bino plans to cheat the casino out of a fortune using a dice scam. But not just any dice scam. This is where Bino brings in the science. We are talking about cellophane gas.
Okay, this sounded like pure sci-fi when I read it. Is this a real thing? In the context of the book, it's treated as this obscure proprietary science. The concept is that this specific gas turns into a solid when it is heated. This is the opposite of normal matter, which usually melts from solid to liquid to gas when you heat it.
Right, inverse properties. So how do you use that to cheat at craps?
You get your hands on the casino's dice beforehand, you drill a microscopic hole, empty them, and fill them with this gas. When the dice are just sitting on the table at room temperature, the gas is evenly distributed, they're perfectly balanced, they are fair. But if a cheater holds the dice in his closed hand for just a moment, his body heat warms up the gas inside.
And the gas turns solid.
Right. It solidifies on one side of the die, the side closest to the palm, effectively loading it or weighting it. So you can force it to roll a 7 or an 11 or whatever number you need to win over and over again.
But casinos check for this stuff all the time. They do the float test, right? They drop dice in water to see if they roll over, which would show they are weighted.
That is the genius of the gas. If the pit boss gets suspicious and drops the dice in a glass of water, the water cools the dice down instantly. The solid turns back into gas, redistributes evenly, and the dice float perfectly balanced. The evidence literally evaporates.
That is brilliant. It makes the cheat completely undetectable by standard casino security. But you still have to get these loaded dice onto the table. You can't just walk in with them in your pocket.
No, you need a mechanic. Enter fit-throwing Duffy. He is the sleight-of-hand expert of the team. Bino sets him up in a wheelchair. But it's a modified wheelchair. It has a porta-toilet bucket hidden underneath the seat.
A toilet bucket?
Yeah.
That sounds unpleasant.
It sounds gross, but it's a dumb mechanism. Duffy, at the craps table, palms the real casino dice, drops them through a hidden hole in the seat into the bucket, and simultaneously swaps in the loaded gas dice.
And nobody notices this.
It relies on the fact that people avert their eyes from disability. It exploits social discomfort to hide the mechanics of the cheat. People don't want to stare at the guy in the wheelchair, so they miss the crucial hand movement. It's another piece of social engineering.
So they have the tech. Now they need the team. We mentioned Paper Collar John, the uncle, but there's another key player introduced here, Dakota Bates, also known as the Queen of Hearts.
Dakota is what's known as a roper. Her job is to rope in the mark, specifically to seduce or at least manipulate Tommy Rena.
The violent one.
The most dangerous one. She is described as stunningly beautiful, a master of lover cons. She knows exactly what men want to hear, how to play on their egos and their desires.
And this creates some tension with Victoria, doesn't it?
Massive tension. Victoria is smart and attractive, but she's essentially a civilian in this world. Dakota is a pro. There's a lot of jealousy and insecurity from Victoria's side. She sees how easily Dakota manipulates men, and it makes her question her own role and her own femininity.
It's another step in her transformation.
Absolutely. It highlights that she can't just be the good girl anymore. She has to embrace her inner actress, her inner con artist, to compete and survive.
So they hit the casino, they use the gas dice, they win. We're talking millions. This creates the crisis. The Renas are panicking, they're hemorrhaging a fortune, and they don't know how.
And this leads us to the final phase of the setup. Act 6, the moose pasture.
Moose pasture. That is a great grifter term. What does it mean?
In grifter parlance, a moose pasture is a worthless piece of land or a fake company that you dress up to look incredibly valuable. You create a fake narrative around it. There's oil, there's gold, or in this case, a fake international conglomerate.
So they are setting up a fake business entity to lure the Renas into a bigger trap.
Exactly. The gambling loss is just the prod. It makes the Renas desperate for cash. The moose pasture is the solution Bino's going to offer them. Hey, you lost money. Invest in this sure thing and you'll make it all back, and then some. They're creating a fake stock opportunity that looks too good to pass up.
But as they're setting this up, the stakes escalate. Victoria has a very close call.
She does. She's in the casino in disguise, doing surveillance, and she almost physically bumps into Tommy Rena. This is the moment where the reality of the danger hits home for her. If Tommy recognizes her, the prosecutor who tried to put him and his brother in jail, the game is over.
And not just over.
They're all dead. No trial, no arrest, just the Jersey solution.
And yet, Bino notices something about Victoria in that moment of pure terror.
He realizes she likes it. She is terrified, yes, but the adrenaline. She's becoming addicted to it. He says she is putting kerosene in the deal. She's upping the stakes, enjoying the thrill.
It's a complete arc for her. She started as the person who puts criminals in jail, and now she's getting a high from being a criminal herself.
And conversely, we see Bino's vulnerability. In a quiet moment, he admits to Victoria why he is really doing all this. It isn't just about the money or the thrill of the game. He failed to protect Carol. He failed to protect her from the bears like he promised when they were kids.
So this whole thing is about atonement.
This entire elaborate multi-million-dollar operation is really just a grieving boy trying to keep a promise to his dead cousin.
It grounds the whole crazy story in something very real. It makes you root for them, not just because the Renas are evil, but because Bino is broken and trying to fix the one thing he can't.
It does. It reminds us that at the core of this confidence game, a very human need for redemption.
So we have the team assembled, the Renas are bleeding money and turning on each other, and the trap is set. The big store is open for business.
And the beauty of the big store con, the reason it costs so much to set up, is the theatricality. They have to rent entire floors of office buildings, hire actors to play secretaries and executives, create volumes of fake paper trails, fake financials. They had to build a world so convincing that even the mob's famously shrewd accountants will sign off on it.
It is basically producing a movie where the audience, the Renas, don't know they are in a movie.
That is the perfect analogy. And if they forget their lines or a prop falls over, the critics don't just write a bad review.
They break your legs.
Or drop you down an elevator shaft.
Yeah.
The margin for error is zero.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into King Khan, what are the big takeaways here? What do we learn from Bino and Victoria's journey?
I think the first and maybe the most profound is the fascinating transition of Victoria Hart. It really challenges you, the listener, to think about the line between law and justice.
We often think they're the same thing.
But this book argues they aren't. The law failed Carol. It let a murderer walk free on a technicality. The crime, is the only thing that can actually deliver justice. It forces us to ask, is the law always right?
That is a heavy question.
And secondly, the mechanics are just so brilliant. The Pearl scam is such a perfect, self-contained lesson in economics.
It really is. It teaches us that value is completely subjective.
The Pearl was worth $50,000 because Bino said it was. Then it was worth $160,000 because Bino created a narrative that made it worth that. If you control the perception of demand, you control the price. It's a lesson that applies to marketing, to business, to the stock market, to everything.
And finally, the psychology of nerve.
Right. Bino loses his nerve after the beating, but he finds it again through a cause bigger than himself. It suggests that true confidence doesn't come from arrogance or skill. It comes from purpose. He isn't doing it for himself anymore. He's doing it for Carol. That gives him the strength to face the Renas again.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to mull over. We usually think of con men as the bad guys. They lie, they steal, they cheat. But in this story, Bino Bates is, without a doubt, the hero.
And the question is, does the end justify the means? To get justice for Carol, he and Victoria have to commit grand larceny, fraud, and identity theft. If they succeed, the bad guys go to jail. But Bino and Victoria have technically become criminals to do it.
Is Bino actually the good guy? Or is he just a bad guy pointing his weapon at a worse guy?
That is the moral ambiguity that makes this genre so enchanting, to use Plato's word.
Yeah.
It makes you question your own compass.
And we haven't even spoiled how the moose pasture plays out or the final inevitable showdown between the brothers. You will have to read the book to see if the Renas finally take the bait.
It is a wild ride to the finish. Highly recommended.
Thanks for joining us on this trip to the dark side of human nature. We will see you on the next deep dive.
Stay sharp out there.